Welcome back to another edition of Small Business Update. I'm John Fruitkin, and I'm here with my law partner, Carrie Tatkin. We've been together for so long that we know how to finish each other's
sentences.
Perfect. So today we're going to talk about bankruptcy basics, and I'm going to turn it over to Carrie. She is the boss of our bankruptcy department and has been doing this for a little bit. So Carrie, let's talk about bankruptcy, or as you put it in your slide, things you want to know but might be afraid to ask.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So, the first thing I think to consider when you think about a bankruptcy is why. Why is there bankruptcy? And Congress found that, and bankruptcy has been around for hundreds of years, and it's actually an opportunity to give debtors a fresh start in their lives and to allow them to get back on the path to becoming a contributing member of the economic society. It provides creditors with payments that are sort of fair to all of the creditors that a person might owe, and it allows businesses to reorganize. So there are a couple of a few different kinds of bankruptcies, but those are the sort of policy reasons behind all of them.
So the idea is basically, this comes from Roman times. This is real old, and it's in the Constitution, is basically what we're trying to do is we're making sure that people aren't so buried by debt that they're afraid to take risks. Obviously, business owners who aren't able to work, to have a business work, we want them to create another business. And we want creditors to have some sort of way to get paid without all running to the courthouse. So let's talk about chapters of bankruptcy. What I find interesting, especially having learned about this maybe a year or two or 20 ago, is that what is like chapter 7 bankruptcy and chapter 13 bankruptcy and chapter 11? What I know so far is that it's just a book. And we turn first to chapter 7 of this book. So talk to us, chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Yeah, so chapter 7 is the most common chapter used, and it's sort of what most people think about when they think of what's a bankruptcy. It is a liquidation bankruptcy. You get to get rid of all of your debt, but in exchange, the trustee that's appointed in the case gets to liquidate certain things you might have that are not exempt. Now, the good news is most people don't have things that are not exempt, but if you do happen to have some things that are not exempt, the trustee sells them and divides the proceeds up to among the creditors, and you receive a discharge of all your debt. So it's a quick in, quick out kind of a bankruptcy, and it clears the deck so that you can start over again.
So you don't lose your clothes, but you might lose, the fine art collection. But in exchange for all that, you have no debt. So
correct.
Good news. By the way, also could be used in the corporate context when a business wants to or needs to liquidate. All right, let's move on to reorganization. Chapter 13.
Yes, so chapter 13 is a reorganization plan for individuals and sole proprietorships. This chapter cannot be used by corporations. So we'll talk a little bit in a minute about chapter 11, which is the method that a corporation can use to reorganize. Chapter 13 is generally used by folks who don't qualify for Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is an income-based eligibility type of a bankruptcy, and how we figure out if someone's eligible is a little bit complex. There is something called the means test we have to go through. It's a little bit like a tax return, and we have to just figure out whether a debtor is qualified. But if a debtor makes too much money, for example, the next best thing, so to speak, is a reorganizing Chapter 13, where the debtor pays his excess disposable income for a period of 3 to 5 years, doing his or her best efforts to pay his creditors back. Whatever does not get paid back is discharged. But again, there's some other reasons Chapter 13 might be exactly what a person needs. For example, if there's tax debt, there's certain things we can do with tax debt. If someone's behind in mortgage payments and the home is about to be foreclosed, we can save homes from foreclosure in a Chapter 13. So, there are certain things that we use Chapter 13 for that Chapter 7 doesn't address.
Chapter 11.
Chapter 11, more complicated type of a bankruptcy, generally quite a bit more expensive as well. But in a Chapter 11, an individual or corporation can reorganize. There is no trustee, generally speaking. The debtor is the quote debtor in possession. You get to sort of run your own case. Creditors get to vote for your plan of reorganization. So there is sometimes dissent among the creditors, but those things can be worked out. And that is the way that you see most larger companies and folks with maybe more assets or more complex issues will go through a Chapter 11.
Do you remember Mad Libs, where you would like fill in like
Yes.
a noun and it was, so that's kind of what chapter 13 is. It's like Mad Libs. So we have like blanks and we put those in and it allows the case to go a little bit faster and easier. Chapter 11 is like writing your own book. You choose your own adventure. And the good news is that there's a lot of creative things you could do. The bad news is you need to get people to vote in favor of your plan and to have the court approve it. And so that creates a little bit more complexity. Boy, complicated area of law. Good news is Carrie gives free consultations. Look below in the description, you're going to see her email address. And so feel free to give a call and set up a time. Otherwise, we'll get a little bit more into some of these other issues on other small business updates. Did I miss anything? How'd I do?
Perfect.
Whenever I don't have to do anything, I'm pretty good at it. See you next time.